Hi, this presentation is on the environmental impacts of fracking. Fracking is a process used to extract oil and natural gas from shale rock buried beneath the Earth's crust. It begins by drilling deep into the Earth about 2 miles. High-pressure water mixture called fracturing fluid is then directed at the shale rocks to break them. Once they're broken, this releases the natural gas trapped within. This can then flow back to the surface to be collected and used. Some advantages of fracking are that it allows for access to natural gas that would be difficult to reach via other methods. Also, it allows for a greater percentage of the electricity in the United States to be generated by natural gas rather than coal. On top of this, it decreases the United States' dependence on foreign sources of both oil and energy. And finally, it will help to lower the costs and taxes for the people of the United States. Some of the disadvantages include that it has a negative impact on the environment, including water contamination and air pollution. This has then been linked to affecting people's health in negative manners. Finally, fracking has been linked to seismic activities in areas that have not known to experience earthquakes prior. Here's a list of these pros and cons that we talked about. Fracking has been called out on waste in the United States water supply. Upwards of 3 to 8 million gallons of water are used in a single well's lifetime. Also, it leads to heavy water contamination. This process in total uses about 300 chemicals, of which the government lists 65 of them as being hazardous and toxic. During the process, some of these chemicals seep into the surrounding groundwater, contaminating it. This water is then used for everyday things such as watering the crops, feeding the animals, and drinking. Not only this, but naturally occurring radioactive elements are released when the rocks are broken underground. This, as well as the remaining fracking fluid, as only 30 to 50% of it is recovered, will mix with the surrounding groundwater to further contaminate it. Finally, the fracking companies are responsible for the disposal of their wastewater. They normally haul these wastewaters to sewage facilities locally that are ill-equipped to properly treat the water. It is then improperly treated and released into the environment, rivers and streams, where it further pollutes. Here's a diagram showing the potential groundwater contamination areas, as well as the trucks taking off the fracking fluid and wastewater. People see fracking as a cleaner and safer way to extract fossil fuels. While CO2 emissions are indeed cut, many other harmful chemicals are released into the environment. Here's a diagram of the air pollution chemicals that are released and their impacts on the environment. Long-term exposure to these chemicals can be both harmful and dangerous. One example is diesel emissions. They originate from the combustion engines used at the site. Another is hydrogen sulfide. It is toxic to living things and in high concentrations can be explosive. Throughout all the stages of the fracking process, nitrogen oxides are released. They react with hydrocarbons and sunlight to form ozone smog. VOCs are a major concern in the smog category as well. Research has shown that gas fields have released the equivalent to 100 million cars worth of VOCs. All of these pollutants are of huge concern to our air quality around the world. They are dangerous and can affect people's health in negative ways, including lung function and heart functions. People think that fracking is a clean energy source, while in reality it is quite a polluting process. A major concern that goes hand in hand with fracking is methane gas release. It has been linked to both water contamination as well as air pollution. Many articles spend a lot of time on how fracking reduces the CO2 emissions, but fail to mention the dangers of methane. Methane is released throughout the fracking process both unintentionally and intentionally. Here's an example of them intentionally burning off natural gas releasing methane. Over 40% of the methane released every year is due to natural gas abstraction. It is much more dangerous of a greenhouse gas than CO2. Over the short term, it can be 86 times more heat absorbent than carbon dioxide to the environment. This means by abstracting higher amounts of natural gas, it will release more methane. This will then lead to quicker and greater changes of the Earth's climate and global warming than that of CO2. Satellites have confirmed that the releases of methane from fracking have wiped out any climate change benefits through the process. Not only does fracking affect the air, but methane gas underground seeps into the surrounding groundwater. Methane levels in water near fracking sites contain 17 times higher methane concentrations than water not near fracking sites. This is dangerous because it can be both toxic to the body and it can explode or ignite. Here's a picture of water that is ignited near a fracking site. Thank you for taking the time to view this presentation on the environmental impacts of hydraulic fracking. Now you can decide if you think fracking is worth it or not based off of its environmental impacts. Thank you.